Hi, welcome back to another guided meditation. My name is Sage and I work for the Oregon City Public Library. Today I wanted to talk about some ways that we can deal with that very intense state of being overwhelmed, whether it's emotionally overwhelmed, whether it's just purely exhausted from working too hard or doing too much. Learning how to take some time and address that specifically and having some tools in your tool belt is the goal for today. So first I just want to give you some tips, and then at the end we'll go through some breathing techniques that can be really helpful in those moments of feeling really overwhelmed. Sometimes this can also be equated to feelings of intense anxiety. So the first tip I have for you is to practice establishing boundaries, both with yourself and with others. Sometimes one might be easier than the other. Sometimes both are really hard. And often we are not taught how to establish boundaries and have to figure that out for ourselves. So this is something that's going to take a lot of practice. Maybe you've already been practicing it, but some examples of setting good boundaries with yourself are limiting your time working from home. So having those kind of strict guidelines of when you're actually working and when you're not working, so you're not overworking yourself. Making sure that you are giving yourself enough time to do other self-care practices, that you are setting those boundaries with others of how much you can actually take on, whether that's family members or your coworkers or your bosses or whatever it is. Making sure you are very clear and transparent about those boundaries, especially in the age of COVID when things are really hard and really weird, and it's unrealistic to expect anyone to be working at their fullest capacity. My next couple tips are more physical actions. So the first one is to lie face down if you are able to, or if it's comfortable for you, then lying on your belly. This just really quickly sends that message to your complete nervous system to calm down because you are face down, because that is a feeling of grounding through your entire body. This can be on the couch, on the bed, whatever's most comfortable. And then my next tip for that is to put weight on your body. So sometimes I've worked with folks who have anxiety attacks and panic attacks, and they will lie face down, and sometimes I will just put my own body weight on top of theirs, or stack pillows, stack blankets on top of them. You don't have to be lying face down for this to be effective either. Maybe you've known in the past, if you're feeling really anxious and you just curl up in like 10 blankets and watch a movie, that can be really, really relieving of that anxiety. The next tip is to practice self-soothing. And again, these previous tips can be a part of that, but also there are a lot of physical things that we do to practice self-soothing. So it might be tapping our fingers, tapping our foot. It might be rubbing our hands together. It might be humming. It might be swaying. Maybe you know from giving like public speeches or something that swaying is something that you do naturally, and that tends to be a really common self-soothing tactic. So when you notice your body reacting to you feeling overwhelmed in a way that's kind of like a physical repetition, pay attention to that, and then that's something that you can use intentionally to help overcome that feeling of being overwhelmed. The next is to check in with your basic survival needs. So this is something that very easily can be overlooked, especially in moments of high stress and high anxiety. And that is honestly things like feeding yourself, drinking water, and sleeping enough. Obviously, one thing that's important first is having a comfortable or a safe feeling of safety in your shelter, in your home, whatever that might be for you. And then when you have that established, food, water, sleep, make that your biggest priority in those moments. If all the things you're doing aren't really helping you get past that feeling of being overwhelmed, it's likely you just need to eat a meal and go to bed. And then my last tip before we get into the breathing techniques is to ask for support. And this is, again, just as hard as setting boundaries often. But if you are able to ask the people around you for support, whether it's big or small, whether it's just going up to your partner and asking for a hug, whether it's even asking like your pet to come sit on your lap, or asking your boss for an hour off at the end of the day for you to practice some self-care. Ask for that support, because most likely the people around you will be willing to give that to you and will be really understanding, especially with the current state of everything. So just keep that in your tool belt. Know that that's always an option. The worst thing that will happen is that someone will say no, and that might feel terrible for a moment, but it will be okay. So now I want to just practice a breathing technique, and I think we've done this before, but we're just going to do a counted breath. And the reason a counted breath can be really helpful in these moments of feeling overwhelmed is because it gives our mind, especially that logical thinking brain, something to do. It occupies it. So it's not running through the lists and all of the potential catastrophic things. Instead, it's focused internally on what your body is doing. It's connecting that mind and body, and it's giving you, again, that sense of grounding and that sense of awareness of your present place and time, reaffirming that you are okay in this moment. So feel free to adjust your seat, get comfortable. We'll sit up tall. We'll bring the shoulders up to the ears, roll them back and down. We'll take a full breath into the belly. Exhale out the nose. Full breath in. Exhale. And often an anxious breath will be short and tight in the chest, so it may feel impossible to breathe all the way into the belly today. What we can do when this happens is on your exhale, you can really push from the base of the belly, letting go of all your breath like you're deflating a balloon till there's nothing left. And then take another big inhale. You might have to do this a couple more times, pushing out all that breath on the exhale. And breathing in. Good. We'll let that breath go. We're going to breathe in for 1, 2, 3. Breathe out for 3, 2, 1. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3. Breathe out for 3, 2, 1. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Feel free to continue with this breath. You can add seconds or take away seconds. You can add pauses at the beginning and end of the breath. And go ahead and keep this breathing technique as well in your tool belt for those moments of feeling really overwhelmed. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time.